Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to a mini review episode of Dads from the Crypt. My name is Jason. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me is Shelby from the Bloody Disgusting podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we are. So tonight's this week we're going to be reviewing Society on the main show. And Shelby was going to join us, but the horror podcasting gods threw everything at us, so I couldn't
really
get either Mondo or just my rule. Either it has to be either Mondo or Jody plus a guest. But just could not happen this week due to many things. Literally a funeral, a dog, and a monkey,
and a power outage on my end.
Yeah. But I was inspired because I think we both met Brian Usna.
We
did. You get a chance to meet him? Okay, I met him. I'm not sure if you did. Brian Usna. I was at CreepyCon a couple weeks ago, or I met Shelly at least in person for the first time.
Yeah, that was so exciting to get to meet you in person. You know, it's like I rarely get to meet fellow podcasters who I talk to in person, especially since we had just done the episode. That was really exciting.
Yeah, well, because you haven't met Xena, which is mind-boggling.
No, I know. I had a few people come up to me and tell me that. Yeah, you've met Xena. I had a few people come up and say like something about Xena. I was like, yeah, I can't wait to meet her in person. And it's like, you haven't met her in person.
I know. Well, I still haven't met Jody in person. So, but Mondo and I have tickets to go to John Carpenter in concert in October. So that's like the second time I've hung out with Mondo.
Sweet.
But yeah, you are now just recently announced as the official co-host of the Bloody Disgusting podcast. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we just announced it last week. Yeah, this is so exciting. I'm so honored. Seriously, I'm just so excited to be there.
Well, like if Xena's the queen of horror, does that make you like the lady in waiting or the maiden?
Yeah, I'm like the grand vizier of horror. I just sit beside her like with my hands like this, just like kind of, yes, my liege. Yeah.
Right. Or Grand Wizard, not Grand Wizard, but like
the wizard, not Grand Wizard.
Not Grand Wizard, like Merlin. I was just thinking of like the Green Knight, how like Merlin's like
yeah, exactly. That's me. Yeah. I got the beard and everything. It's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, for anyone who obviously might not be familiar with Bloody Disgusting podcast, you have to at least know the site. But for those that don't know, there's a podcast associated. So why don't you tell us about that?
So the Bloody Disgusting podcast, it's, you know, we talk about our horror news coming up. We do a fun thing that Xena loves to do. That's it's a horror hotspot or horror, not horror hotspot. Oh, wow. Now I can't think of exactly how she says it. But we get like horror questions and prompts every week where it's like, would you rather be in the Conjuring house or the Grudge house? And things like that are a lot of fun. We have a lot of guests and interviews, especially since we are, you know, we're an official Bloody Disgusting podcast. We get a lot of really neat interviews and guests, and we talk about upcoming movies. Sometimes once a month, we do a horror deep dive on one particular movie. And recently we've just started doing video, and we have started partnering with Screambox to once a month, Tony Wash from Screambox comes on and tells us all about what's happening on Screambox. And a lot of people don't realize Screambox and Bloody Disgusting go hand in hand. So
yeah. I didn't know that until just now. So good to know.
Yeah.
Well, because Bloody Disgusting is affiliated with the VHS series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And those have been on Shudder recently. So I guess
those have been on Shudder. Yeah, it's a little confusing. Distribution gets a little weird. But but Screambox and Bloody Disgusting we're both, our parent company is Cineverse. So
okay, cool.
We're all buddies, basically.
Speaking of many different entities getting, you know, tangled up within each other. So The Society is one of those movies that like even a casual horror fan is like at least somewhat aware of because of the memes or, you know, a GIF or something. It's just kind of there. I think we're not to like gatekeep. I think like, you know, watching it is a whole other level of
it really is. Fandom. It's one that I've been aware of for forever. And like we talked about, we met Brian Usna. I interviewed Brian Usna for the Reanimator panel. And
Mhm.
but it was just one that I had just never sat down to watch. And when you suggested it, and even Xena was like, oh my God, I can't wait for you to see this. And I was like, I knew I was in for quite the treat.
Right. So, we're just gonna go straight spoilers. So if you haven't watched the movie, go watch it. It's a movie kind of like Sleepaway Camp that's kind of known for like the last bit is supposed to be like they're like, oh my god, I don't believe what happens, but like well, there's a whole other movie that's actually really good in its way.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so then go watch it. So we're gonna just dive into it. You watched it, I think, yesterday, right?
Yes, I did.
So okay, and were you familiar with what happens in the end, the big scene?
I wasn't. I actually like I was, but I wasn't. It's been a while since I've seen people talk about it, but I
Hmm.
kind of was thrown off because you mentioned the last 30 minutes and everyone I mentioned I was watching it to said like, "Oh, I can't wait for you to see those last 30 minutes." So, I didn't know exactly what I was in for, but wow. It was
Did it live up to the hype?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, I feel like the last 30 minutes are what the movies it's so funny, I saw a few people say like, "Oh, those last 30 minutes just go off the rails." It was probably my favorite part of the movie. I don't know why. It was just like, yes, we're fully going there. We got a little
Hmm.
taste of it in the beginning with the tape, the little cassette tape, but then it was like, "Oh, no, they're actually okay, we're actually gonna see this is what's happening." Yes, fingers going through flesh and people going inside out and incest and orgies, and here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because of how infamous that scene is, I've only seen the whole movie a couple times, and I
Mhm.
think the first couple times I watched it, you're just kind of waiting to get to that big scene. But I think the more I
Yeah.
watch it, the more I start picking up things and enjoying like all this the pre stuff
Mhm.
that's happening. Um, so again, tell me more about your overall thoughts of the whole movie.
So, overall thoughts, for one, I felt really bad for Bill. That's only seeing it once, I'm gonna get names really wrong,
Yeah.
but Bill's the main character, right? He's the
Hmm.
adopted son. So, I felt bad for his girlfriend. I kept thinking that through the movie. I was like, "Man, she just really got the raw end of the stick." I mean, I guess she ended up better than a lot of people in the movie, but, I kept thinking that about her. And,
His his original girlfriend or the woman or
yes.
the society
No,
person
not
he
the
ends up
one
with?
that's part of the society, the blonde who is like, "Why were you?" She was that's like camped outside of Clarissa's
Yeah.
house with her friend, and it's like, I knew it. He's at the whore's house, basically. And I was like, I get it. I get your plight. But yeah, the whole movie though, I
Right.
loved it because I really
Disappears after
love the
that.
I really love the idea of like secret rich people societies, like, oh my god,
Mhm.
the name why is the name escaping me? The Tom Cruise movie, the famous Tom Cruise movie. Eyes Wide Shut. Like, I love
Oh, Eyes
shit
Wide
like
Shut?
that.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's a movie I need to sit down and watch. I've never sat down and watched it.
Oh, you've never watched see, that's what
Um,
it
real
was
quick,
basically uh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the woman who plays, the girlfriend, Heidi Haddad, she was also
Mhm.
in Slumber Party Massacre 2, which is an excellent movie, and Friday 13th: New Blood.
Oh,
So
sweet.
she's definitely made the horror round.
Awesome. Good for her. She has that, like, 80s horror look, definitely. She has that, like, I
Mhm.
don't know, just that, like, all-American girl who, like, needs to die in a brutal way. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I've always loved stuff like Eyes Wide Shut and just that idea of rich people being horrific in some way, and they have secret societies and the whole, bohemian garden type stuff. And so this like
Mhm.
took that and amplified it, like put it just amplified it times 1,000. And
Right.
they're creatures, but they're not from space. I loved the line where he thinks they're aliens and the dad's like, "We've been here for a long time." Like, or "We've been here for so long," or whatever he says. And it's like, so they're not aliens and we never really find out what they are. They're just like very ambiguous about it, but like and then the physicality of how they present themselves with like their butts are on backwards, and that's how Bill keeps seeing these women with their butts on backwards. Like, it's just I would love to talk to Brian Usna about this whole film and like how they decided on how things were represented on screen, because it felt it's so bonkers, like so bonkers.
Right. Yeah, a couple things. I read some more interviews and IMDb trivia and stuff. So supposedly the society were infected by, it was a group of people infected by a parasite thousands and thousands of years ago that like
Okay.
turned into like an offshoot of humanity. And what they're
Mhm.
doing with the shunting is that they
The
become too
shunting.
inbred, so they need to introduce some new DNA. So again, one of the more what the fuck things in this movie is like the mother in the woman that he starts hooking up with,
Yes.
where they're very off. The mother's very off, I think, because of
Yeah.
all this inbreeding. And then the daughter, she says a lot of weird stuff where she goes like, "Oh, would you like some coffee, tea, or want me to
Yeah.
urinate?"
Would you
Yeah,
want cream or sugar? Do you want me to pee in it? Like,
yeah.
classic. It's so funny. I was actually on Reddit before, like as I was starting the movie, just kind of looking up
Hmm.
stuff about the movie, and that line got spoiled for me. And I was like, oh man, that sounds crazy. But then it was just as crazy to hear it. Like she really is that nonchalant about saying it. It's not even read in like a for laughs way. It's just
Hmm.
it's just so
It's
like yeah, like
and it
would you
hints at
like me to
this like
pee in it?
bigger idea that I think he had that either didn't make the cut or he just didn't like. Well, they'll figure it out, or we just want to be weird. And like
Mhm.
a lot of the third act stuff wasn't really in it. It was supposed to be more violent. I think they're just supposed to like cut them up or something, eat them, or cannibalistic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I think maybe he did some acid or with Screaming Mad George, and they came up with some ideas.
Yeah, the amount of foam latex that went into that final scene had to have been like, I just wanna see their foam latex budget,
Oh,
because
and their KY jelly budget.
they're exactly, their KY jelly, foam latex, to see their limbs moving under the skin and everything. It was it is one that, like, I started out doing, like, special effects makeup, and it was like
Oh,
it just, like, brought joy to my heart, because it was like, you can tell they weren't really going for super realism. They were just going to have a good time. Like, everybody knows what's going on. And watching, Ted, I think his name is, get pulled inside out
hmm,
was amazing.
yes.
Amazing. It was
Well,
beautiful.
and he's doing that lip thing. It's just
Oh
so
my
like
yeah.
it's like Donald Duck.
Oh
Well,
my god.
so like Screaming Mad George, he worked on Elm Street 3 and 4. And you can definitely
Okay.
see like the scenes, like especially the infamous one where she's in the Roach Hotel and then she starts turning into a cockroach. I know he
Yeah.
did that one, and also the one in 4. I think it's Greta is the character's name, where she's like they
Mm.
start force feeding her and her mouth gets like huge. So you can
Yes.
see those hints, and they're like, this guy is on another level. Let's just give him a whole like 30 minutes to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, 30 minutes and 30 people, just go
Yeah.
for it.
Oh,
Like,
those poor
the amount
extras.
of that was the thing, it was the amount of people involved in that scene was so impressive. Like, the melding, and when the lips are fused and they're all fused in different ways, and it was kind of beautiful to look I would love to look up more behind the scenes, like, footage or shots, if they have any of that, because
Mhm.
just to see how everyone was situated within the latex, like, because it looked like basically a game of Twister, and then they kind of, like,
Rat,
draped everyone in in a
they rat
layer.
kinged it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I was just playing. I just finished Last of Us Part 2, and there's a rat king
Oh,
of like
yeah.
zombies and stuff. I'm like, oh,
Mhm. Oh god, I love those
um,
games.
and there's just yeah, it's a. I stayed up late to try to finish it. It's my time. It was like 2 a.m. I'm like, I'm gonna go hug my kids and like
Right?
hold a puppy or something. Um, yeah, and then there's all like those gags where he goes up into his parents' bedroom and he sees his mother
Mm.
with like arms where her legs should be, and his sister like
Yes.
coming out of her nether regions in the butthead
Mhm.
joke.
Yep. That was one thing that was funny. The first time we see the sister with her butt all the wrong way, it was odd, because it was like, why are okay, she can't hear you. She's clearly in the shower. So you've got like nurture versus nature. You got a little bit of the incest, because what are you like? Why are you still
Yeah.
trying to figure, like, why are you going so far? You saw the suntan lotion. Just grab it and go like a normal teenage boy. But
Mhm.
no, you had to be nosy. So
Yeah, and that was another scene, at least according to IMDb, that wasn't in the original script. That they're like, we need
Mhm.
something to happen earlier to kind of like keep the audience interested. So
Oh,
because yeah,
okay, I
it's
see.
a very like random scene. Like,
It really is. It felt kind of long. That was one scene I was like, this is long. I don't know. I would have
mhm,
it just felt like he was in that shower. I know they're rich, so every room is very big and elaborate, but that bathroom was like it was like a labyrinth. He was going around corners and things, and it was like, how big is this fucking bathroom? It felt like a gym
right,
bathroom.
yeah, exactly, like a locker room.
Yeah.
Well, the house is even funnier to me because I live in Pasadena, and that's where the house is
Mhm.
located. It's like a
Oh,
famous
yeah.
manor. So like
Yeah.
after the first time I sat down and watched like the movie like in proper, I was like, I know
Mhm.
that house. And it's like a famous
Funny.
house in Pasadena that like I think the Rose Bowl organization works out of there, or at least they used to.
Oh, that
Like,
makes sense. Yeah. I know
yeah.
Pasadena has a lot of those historical houses, but that is funny to drive by and be like, that's where the orgy happened.
Well, it kind of goes in with the themes of the old money because Pasadena has a lot of old money areas because it used to be the end of the
Yes.
railroad to the West
Mhm.
Coast. So like you get all
Mhm.
these like tycoons who wanted to live, right off the railroad. Only the rich people could afford to do like the transcontinental whatever railroad it was.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, obviously it's not that rich of an area anymore, but you see all these like vestiges of those
Oh,
times.
yeah. Some of the older houses I love, and you go around the back and they still have like a carriage house where the
Mm,
carriages would be
yes,
stored. And I love that about it. Yeah.
right. Yeah, so I was thinking I like to like think of what other movies this reminds me of, and I recently
Mhm.
watched They Live again for like the umpteenth time.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very
I
like
can.
to me, it's very
Mhm.
much They Live meets Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Mhm.
Where you have
Yeah. I
a
can see
boy
that.
as like the main person, kind of trying to figure out, what this craziness is around him. Plus, the class commentary going
Mhm.
around
Oh,
in the
yeah, and if you ever sit down to watch Eyes Wide Shut, I think you'll agree a dash of that as well, like, very much so,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree with those other 2. It's it's a trip. It's definitely one that I think I would recommend to, I guess, more seasoned horror fans, like, if I
Yeah.
know they're into a certain brand of horror, I don't think I would ever throw someone new into it,
The
because I feel like you need to build up an appreciation for the genre as a whole and that particular type of genre, like Brian used on movies, to get
mhm.
to get to Society.
Right, like, yeah, my wife doesn't she likes very few horror movies, so I have to be
Mhm.
very, like, careful with what I show her. This is definitely
Selective, yeah.
selective, yeah. Yeah, because it's definitely, like, one of the crazier body horror movies you're gonna see. Again, we
Mhm.
had, like, The Substance this year, and it's like,
Yes.
The Substance gives this a run for its money, but on the sheer scale alone is,
Mhm.
you know, I don't think anything's ever been accomplished on this scale.
Yeah.
Um, Without any blood either, which is very cool.
Yeah,
I
which
think
was
that's like
that's interesting.
I
Mhm.
think for they were worried about getting like an X rating, and I think like they thought like the initial scene with I can't remember his name, but the first boy, they thought it
Oh,
was too intense, so that's why they played like this classical music over it to give it to like try and lighten the mood. Which sure,
sure, yeah. I felt lightened. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but like again, it's kind of like two movies almost, or like but like the
Yeah.
first bit where he's just kind of like going through his life and there's lots of weird shit happening.
Mhm.
It's weirdly like I don't know what the word is. Not simplistic, but
Mhm.
it's very like okay, we all know what's gonna not you know something's gonna happen, but like I don't know the way he's such an idiot in many
Yeah.
ways of what
Yeah.
of all the things around him, and like and also they're just kind of playing him in these like hilarious ways, like when they make him think that one guy who's he's running against is dead, and he just kind of like
That
shows up like a
was
schmuck.
really funny when he just shows back up. I was not
Yeah,
expecting that, and he's just, like, there again. Like,
right.
that was great.
Um, yeah, like it's not very there's a lot of deep themes, but it's also played very silly,
Mhm.
which again
It
I
really
think
is.
is preparing you because if it played it much more straight, when you get to the end, it's gonna be such a twist,
Mhm.
such
Yeah.
a vibe twist. I'm trying to think, like a tone twist. The twist
Toned,
be such
yeah,
a tone twist that like you wouldn't be able to handle it, I think. But because the
yeah,
first is just kind of silly, almost
yeah.
slapstick.
It makes a lot more sense now to throw in the scene with the sister because yeah, I agree. If we had none of that and then all of a sudden we show up to orgy scene, it would be like,
Mhm.
what? Did the stream mess up? This has to be a different movie.
Right. I mean, you've got all these weird scenes where like they're on the beach and these like little boys are, like sneaking around, and obviously for some reason they don't
Hmm.
notice them. They're like a foot away, stealing, and
Yeah,
then they start squirting the lotion on them. They're like,
screen. Yeah,
yeah, it feels like this could be like an '80s teen comedy. I mean, it
yeah.
more or less is a teen sex comedy, like Porky's or
Hmm.
whatever, that came out in the mid '80s, and then just again takes a really surreal turn.
Yeah. It's and a lot of it is his reactions to everything. Like when he's with Clarissa, the girl he's hooking up with, and like he sees her all twisted and everything. Like the his reactions are just so over the top and hilarious. It almost reminded me of like an old episode of Goosebumps, like the
Mm,
original Goosebumps series
yeah.
where everybody's kind of doing that like I don't know, like that Disney acting almost, that like
Yes.
very big acting. That's like that I love that happened a lot. Like yeah, like 80s comedies that happened a lot in those 80s comedies where it's like, what is going on? Like I felt like like I got a lot of that from him.
Right. Well, what's cool is, again, I'm a nerd for like, this guy is related to this guy or he's in that movie. But so that's
Mhm.
Dick Warlock's son who played
Oh,
Michael
okay.
Myers,
Mhm.
and especially in Halloween 2, I believe. And he even has a cameo. There's the scene where like a guy is holding a boombox and he bumps into Michael Myers. That's Billy here. And I think
Oh
the
my
hospital they
god.
take him to is the same as hospital as Halloween 2.
That okay, the hospital did look
Yeah,
familiar. Like, I don't know, there was something about it, and I was like, maybe it's just a generic Hollywood hospital, but it felt familiar, so that makes
right.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and those hospital scenes are very wacky.
They really
Like, no,
are.
no, no. He can't be dead.
The nurse even, something about the nurse I loved when he's like, "Is so and so here?" And she felt like she was actually working at the hospital and didn't mean to be in the movie. Like, she seemed genuinely, like,
I ain't got
just
time for your shit.
yeah, exactly,
I'm
and
trying
she
to
was,
film a
like,
movie.
checking
I'm
the
trying to help my
paperwork.
patient. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, "They roped me, this is a real working hospital, sir, and they roped me into doing the scene." Like, that's what it felt like, and that's one reason she was so hilarious. She was just so toned down to the rest of the whole movie, basically.
Yeah. And then I keep making this comparison in my head, but also like I'm a huge Sleepaway Camp fan. That's like one of my all-time
Mhm.
favorites. And one of the things I love about that is like from every like objectionable level, it's or it's a bad movie, but everyone is so bought in and they're playing it so
Yeah,
big and trying so
I
hard
love yeah.
that it just makes it work. It's like by sheer force of will.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, that's, like Sleepaway Camp. It doesn't feel like anyone's phoning it in. They are
Mhm.
here for the movie, and they are here to give it their all, and their all is wacky, but it works so well, especially because we get to that ending and it's like we needed everyone to be at an 11 to make the ending make sense,
'Cause the ending
basically.
is like 1,000.
Yes, exactly. Even honestly, the first time they play the tape,
Mhm.
of them like, and you don't even realize the actual extent of what's happening. It just sounds like a sex party at that point. And it was just like, oh my God, clutching my pearls. Like I can't imagine people watching this for the first time and it being like, oh, okay, well, that's what like you kind of get what's gonna be going on. But I think I just have the gift of hindsight because it was made in 89 and I kind of knew enough about the movie, but I can't imagine what it would be like to go into this movie completely blind, don't not knowing anything about it and getting to even just that scene where it's like that's what they're doing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this movie totally bombed. I don't know, I'm sure they didn't know how. I don't know how you would market this movie. Um,
Right.
they even like, I think it came out in '89 in Europe. It didn't
Mhm.
play in America until like '92.
Oh
So I
my
think they just,
god.
I know. Until they did some other movies, I think they thought, okay, at least he has some name or
I
something. But
guess
like,
well, yeah. We can
I
let
think,
this one go out.
yeah, which I'm sure they did like no marketing or anything because it's like they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
but this is made for like videotape watching at home, like showing your friends,
It
like, oh my
is.
god, can you
It's
believe this shit?
literally made for a slumber party. Like, I always think, like, because being a former teenage girl, I always think of things in terms of like slumber party movies, and I'm like,
Yes.
this is a slumber party movie. Like, my friends and I always loved really gory horror movies,
Mhm.
but that were like, crazy. And like this would have, I'm surprised this never made the list, but
This
yeah.
is the one I think like if a girl brought if a friend brought this over, you
Mm.
might judge them a little bit if this is
A
gonna be
little
like
bit, yeah, especially
our
at
our
that age, like,
go-to our go-to movies were like From Dusk Till Dawn, Demon
yeah.
Knight, those kind of things. Like
Mhm.
this might be a step far. Like if someone brought
Right?
this, it'd be like, "Oh, I've got this great movie, Cannibal Holocaust, you guys should watch for sleepover."
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially like I was around the time of like Hostel and stuff like that was coming
Oh
out.
yeah.
So this would have been like I'm cool with Hostel, but I draw the line at the incest orgy, okay? You're not allowed to pick next week's movie, you know?
Yeah. And I love there's like, oh, these like kind of classic actors, like the judge, and the
Yeah.
therapist guy. Like those were like
Mhm.
great. I mean, I think at some point they were like major grade eight actors. I don't know what the hell they're
Mhm.
doing in this way, how they got roped in.
And it was
Uh,
so funny watching them deliver their line. Like in the end when one of them is like, "I'm getting too old for this." And he delivers it so earnestly. It's just
yeah, and
like
he's got
you
the
can
birthmark.
hear yeah, you can hear the classic training coming through his voice and it's like, "What are you doing here?"
Like, yeah, this is his using his first movie. I don't know how he convinced these people. Like, I don't know
Right.
who's producing this, but like, wow. Like, even how do you like read this on a script?
I know. Yeah, like I don't know how you sell this to someone. And it's like, did he have blackmail on these people? Because how do you get them in these compromising positions and saying these things and doing these
Mhm.
things and suggesting these things they're doing? Like shoving the one shoves his fist up the guy's ass. Like, how do you
Oh my
get these
god.
guys like I don't know. How do you sell that, as a
And then pulls
director?
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even, like, the sister character, part of me was like, though the parents are being all creepy on her, I'm like, "Ugh, I feel
Mm.
bad for her," but then, like,
Oh,
as an
I know.
actress, she seems to get really into it.
She did. I was surprised. Like, I was waiting to see, as an actor, like, her pull back a little bit, but nope, she was all in. She was just as in it as
Yeah.
everybody else. God bless her, but Jesus.
Mhm. Um, alright, what else you got? What other final thoughts before we wrap up?
Oh god. I think I texted this to you. You asked me if I liked it, and I said something like, "Not at all, but I'm going to recommend it to everyone I've ever met," because I mean I didn't like it in the best way possible, and I feel like horror fans are the only ones who, like, understand that sentiment, like, you know what I mean?
I hate
Because
it,
I
I want
honestly
more.
yeah, I hate it, I want more. I cannot wait to make someone else watch this with that was the only thing I regretted is that I didn't watch this with, like, a group of people, because now I cannot wait to make several people watch it with me in a room.
Mhm. I'm trying to think, there's, like, another movie that I think of that, like, again, the ending is so crazy, but, like, you don't appreciate the rest of it until you see it for, like, the 3rd or
Mhm.
4th time.
Mm.
Um, I have to think of it, but there's other movies that are kinda like that, especially,
Mhm.
ones that have, like, really good effects like this.
Yeah.
You kinda have to wait for things to pop off for the things that people, like, know about. 'Cause you're just kinda like,
Mhm.
"Okay, there's a stupid kid and the stupid drama." Oh,
Yeah.
so the kid who plays the, quote, "rival," I think it's Ted Ferguson, which makes you think of
Yeah.
Turd Ferguson. That actor, whew, he really gets into it. He's
Yeah,
like
he did.
grade A bully, preppy kid.
Oh my god, even the part where he's like talking about like fucking the guy's sister and like he's living that character. I liked him. I
He is
felt I liked hating him.
he's what I imagine Ben Affleck must have been as, like, a teenager. He kinda has a Ben Affleck look and a little swarmy.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Ben Affleck actually quite a bit as an actor, but
Yeah.
he looks like there's something there. It looked like it could have been like his like little shit brother.
Oh my God, totally. No, I can totally see that. Yeah.
Um, yes. Okay. Here's a question. So obviously you've interviewed many people about movies and whatnot. If
Mhm.
and you've already talked to Brian Usna about Reanimator. If you were to get
Yes.
him to talk about this movie, what would you ask him?
Oh God. Well, I would ask him how the orgy scene came to be, what his inspiration was for the entire society, if there's a specific actual conspiracy theory that he like had in mind, if he'd ever met any creepy rich people since he's been in the industry for so long that could be part of a society maybe. Oh, I have so many questions for him. I would love to interview him about just this movie. I would ask him about inserting, like you said, the added scenes, like the sister in the bathroom and how it all came about. Like I would want to ask him about what drugs everybody was on, but I probably would chicken out and not ask. But I would have so many things to ask him about this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Well, maybe someday.
Yeah.
All right. Before I let you go, where can people find you and the Bloody Disgusting podcast and your other many
See,
podcasts you do?
so you can find the Bloody Disgusting podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us at Be Disgusting Pod on Instagram, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, all the stuff. It's Be Disgusting Pod. You can find me personally at Shelby B. Novak, and I also have another show called Scary to Sleep. You can find at Scary to Sleep or wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, and Bloody Disgusting podcast comes out every Wednesday. So come hang out with Xena and I and whoever our guest is that week.
Love it. I heard you did a really good episode a couple weeks with some cool dads.
Yeah, they were super cool. They were just like the coolest guys, 3 dads, some randos, you know. You might have heard of them. Fathers from the Tomb, I think they were called.
Yeah, Fathers from the Tomb.
But yeah,
actually,
you know, I just checked our numbers and the episode we did with Dads from the Crypt, everyone go check it out because it's right now it's our most popular episode for like the last few weeks. Yeah.
wow.
It's a very popular episode. It might be the title, the leather pants and yoga title. I don't know if that's what's selling people or if you guys are a great draw, but yep.
Oh man, I got the weirdest email. You just reminded me of this. You know, sometimes you can obviously tell when an email is like AI generated, trying to get you to click on something. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. But basically, it was an AI generated email to see if I would want to have someone on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And it referenced the leather pants.
Oh my God.
I don't know how or why.
It's so funny.
Yeah, it like fixated on that. Because I know we talked about it we mentioned it on the show because we were talking about that we were on your show. We mentioned the leather pants bit. Okay, hold on, give me 10 seconds. Okay. Title Potential Podcast Guest. Hey, Jason, Jody, and Mondo, your latest episode had me hooked from the moment you mentioned exploring the chilling charm of David Lynch's work. The part where you discussed hot yoga and leather pants was unexpectedly hilarious. And then, yada. That's
so funny.
So,
oh my God.
AI loves the leather pants.
Everybody loves the hot yoga and leather pants combo.
Who knows? Okay. Again, Shelby, thank you so much for coming on. I wish we'll have to have you on the show proper when we can.
Yeah, I'll come on for a normal
crazy lives.
Yeah, I'll come on a normal episode when, like you said, the horror gods just were not our friends this week. But I'm glad I got to at least do this and talk about this crazy movie.
Again, I couldn't ask you to watch a movie not of this caliber and not let you like decompress from it. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for listening. I would really appreciate it if everyone could give us a reading review on iTunes, a reading on Spotify. Like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us at Dads from the Crypt Talk on TikTok. With that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.